Okay, let's try this again. What happened was there is some sort of driver thing going on here when I'm switching between my video feeds that's causing everything to crash. So I'm just going to wait a minute and give everybody time to get back into the chat. The funness of live streaming. So what I'm going to do is put you guys back over onto the other feed, and we'll see how the clone is doing. So far, so good, and we'll see if I get another blue screen error again or not. But that was a big blue screen crash that had to reboot and reconnect again. It'll be fun to track that particular problem down since it's very intermittent, but maybe when the new streaming or editing machine is built, maybe that problem will solve itself. We'll see here. So let me switch back. All right, so let's go back to what we were doing. Everybody's starting to rejoin. We're going to give everybody some time to jump back in and let me bring my volume back up. I don't know why the volume keeps dropping. That looks good. So everybody can hear me okay? Thank you, Douglas. Good. So any other questions? We're still waiting. The clone is going to take a little while. I'm going to flip back over. What I was about to say before I had the blue screen is Acronis is awfully optimistic about the amount of time it's going to take. When it says 6 minutes, it's probably closer to a half an hour or 40 minutes. Other times when it says 6 minutes, it means 6 minutes. It is frustrating. I hope Macrium Reflect, if it gives us an estimated time remaining, I hope they're more accurate. I don't know why this has been an ongoing problem with Acronis for years. Sure would be nice if they'd fix it, but I anticipate this is going to take a little while. So while we're waiting, if anybody has any questions, this is a good time to ask. Have I built a Ryzen PC yet? No, no customers of mine have asked for a Ryzen. This customer did not need discrete graphics, and because Ryzen does not include a graphics chip, it would have cost him more money to go to Ryzen, so that's why we went Celeron. In fact, I've got 3 more builds coming up with Core i7s that'll be coming up very soon. Ryzen was not an option for the exact same reason. Customers don't want to have to buy graphics cards. It ends up costing them more money than the equivalent Ryzen. What would happen if you interrupted the transfer? The transfer would stop. I don't know. What do you think would happen? We're only reading from the source disk. We're not changing anything off the source disk. So there would be no damage to the source disk. And the image that we're cloning over would be incomplete. So what we'd have is an unbootable drive with corrupted data that was completely useless. And we'd have to start the clone again and tell it to overwrite the destination drive completely. And then we'd have to wait and not interrupt it. It's really not a big deal if it gets interrupted. The source drive is the one you're worried about, and the source drive would be just fine. Have you tried a double dock that does office cloning? Yes. On my YouTube channel, you will see there's a review of a double dock, but it will not clone a larger drive to a smaller drive. So I really do like it. You know, you can have 2 drives in the dock at the same time, just to have extra drives if you want that. Have a drive F and a drive G that you have externally. But it also works as a cloner. but it clones every sector. So if you have a 1 terabyte drive and you're only using 40 gigs of it, these hardware cloners are not intelligent enough. They copy every single sector. So that's why you need to clone to a drive that is the same size or larger, because as it's cloning every sector, it has to clone sector for sector. Smaller drive doesn't have as many sectors, and therefore it's not going to work. That also holds true for data recovery. When you do data recovery, you always do a sector by sector copy of the original source disk, because you just don't know where the data is. I like Acronis because it's an intelligent transfer where you still can do sector by sector if you want, but what it will do is by default it will transfer only the data, and in doing so it can automatically resize the partitions to the smaller drive. I think there are hard drive cloning hardware utilities that will do resizing partitions, but they're right around $300. They're very expensive. So unless it's something you need to take portably, why not just spend $30 and use Acronis and boot off the flash drive and use a customer's machine temporarily as your cloning station? That's my attitude on it anyway. Let me switch back to the other feed. Let's see how our clone is coming along. So far, so good. That's good. And let's see here. Someone's saying I have an incorrect link in the previous build, the last live video, so I want to check this out. That link should be pointing to the right thing, so I just want to double check. Let's see. No, the link is pointing to the right thing, so I don't know what this other person's talking about. If you look at the video notes in yesterday's live stream, you'll see the parts that make up this computer that we're cloning. And the link for the RAM will take you to Amazon, and you will see a picture of 2 sticks of RAM. They're 4 gigs apiece. Somebody maybe just has their cache turned on and they're not reloading the page and getting the updated link. The original link was pointing to 1 stick of 8 gigs of RAM. The new link that was published this morning is to the proper 2 sticks of RAM. You'll see a picture of 2 sticks of RAM. So if you're not getting that, you should refresh your page. It's on you, it's not on me. It was on me, but it's not on me anymore. Now it's on you. So just want to double check that. Looks like we're coming along pretty good here on our clone, almost done. While we're waiting on that, let me switch back over and see you guys again. All right, what else do we have going on in the chat? Let's see. Carrie, do you expect many issues once the data is copied over to the SSD? I am a little worried about Windows activation, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. My main concern right now is getting the hard drive cloned and then getting the machine to boot. That's what the redeploy will do, and then some software may require reactivation. Software like QuickBooks or Quicken usually require reactivation, which may also require a phone call to support, depending on the company. We're copying over Windows 10 that was on an old AMD system over to a brand new Celeron computer. I think I understand now what the other person was saying about the link to the RAM being wrong. They're looking at the link in this video, which is a copy. You need to go to yesterday's video and look at the link. The link in this video I can't change until after the video is gone. After we're done with the live stream, then I can go in and I can update the link in this video because it's just a copy and paste. So if you're looking for the proper RAM, you need to go to yesterday's video and click on the link on yesterday's video, not today's video. And then for those of you that are not watching it live, it will already be addressed and fixed. So I apologize again for the confusion there. Whether you use one stick of RAM really doesn't make a difference with regards to if the machine's going to work. It's going to work fine with one stick of 8 gigs of RAM. By going to 2 sticks of 4, we're enabling dual channel, which is, because we're using onboard video, it's a bit beneficial for the video speed, video performance. You don't have to do it. You may not even notice it. And obviously, if you've ever thought that you're not sure if you want to get 8 gigs or 16 gigs, because this computer only has 2 memory sockets, you'd be better off getting an 8 gig now and another 8 gig that exactly matches it in the future. Otherwise, if you get the 2 4s, you'll have to pull the 2 4s out and replace them with 2 8s. So think about what's right for you and what your future needs may be. Let's see how we're doing on our copying process here. We are done. Very good. Hallelujah. All right. So now let me go back to this machine. There we go. And where's my mouse? Oh, I'm looking at the YouTube feed, and it's very, very laggy from what I'm doing to what I'm seeing. So I've got to look at the actual OBS feed. There we go. Now I can see. Hallelujah. All right, now let me just close this out. We're done with this. And I don't even have to wait for all this to shut down. I'm just going to hit the switch on the back of the power supply. And then let me switch back over. Good. All right. Now I'm done with the Cronus. I'm going to power off the dock. I'm done with all this. All this can be moved out of the way. So let's do that now. Take that and just put it back here. And my Cronus, I'll just put that right over here. So now what we've done is we've copied Windows 10 from the old AMD computer. We've cloned it onto the new solid state drive onto the new Intel computer, brand new Intel computer. And now I'm going to see if it's going to boot. I don't think it's going to boot. For those of you that are curious, these are the parts that we are using on this build. You'll see on the far left, there is a SanDisk 240 gig solid state drive, the EVGA 430 watt power supply, the Asus DVD-RW on top of that. The motherboard is a GIGABYTE H110M-S2H. The CPU is the Celeron. It's the, which one is that? It's the G, I don't know. The G3950. And then we've got 2 sticks that are 4 gigs each of Viper Elite memory. That's in color gray. And that's the whole system. That's what we've just cloned over to. Brand new, modern, updated machine. So, with that done, the next step is going to be to test boot this system and see if it's going to fire up. I honestly don't believe it's going to fire up because the hard drive controllers are different. So we're probably going to get a blue screen error. It's usually related to the hard drive controller itself. And with Windows 7, you'd get a stop 7B error. If you ever see the stop 7B, it's probably because you switched from SATA to AHCI mode or you moved an operating system from one computer to another. And then that's where you would use a Cronus Universal Restore or some sort of bare metal restore software, essentially to replace that hard drive controller. But let's see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and switch you guys back over to that machine. And let's just take a look at what it does. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Oh, we got to flip the switch on the power supply. There we go. I want to make sure I've got my keyboard and mouse are going to be plugged in there. So let me grab, yeah, that actually I left it in. Okay, so here we go. Let's turn it on and see what happens. Okay, I hit the power button. I got a feeling that we're going to get some kind of an error before the desktop comes up. I sure would like to be wrong, but on the other hand, it doesn't really help to teach you guys Universal Restore if it works. Let's see what happens. We might be stuck in a, well, here we go. Well, look at that. Holy smokes. Holy smokes, did that just work without using any Universal Restore? That makes me happy. There we go. So all the icons are loading. Everything's starting to load up down here. That's what I want to see. That is amazing that we just went from an AMD system to an Intel system so effortlessly. Get those words out. Let's go to the properties here. This is probably not going to be activated. It is not activated. What does it say? I can't read it on my screen. So what I'm going to have to do now is load all the drivers for this machine. And I'll use the disk that came with the motherboard and just go ahead and install the chipset driver, video card driver, go through all of that and make sure Windows is activated. I'm seeing a screen within a screen the way I'm doing this, and so everything's really small for me to look at it. You guys could have seen it, all that information I was just displaying, a whole lot better than I can right now. And it looks like that's all there was to it. Very, very simple. And then after that, it's just a matter of doing the wire tying. So I thought I was going to be able to demonstrate Universal Restore or Macrium Reflex redeploy tool, but it looks like it's just not necessary. And that's why you don't just assume you need it. Always check after your clone to see if you need it. A lot of people trying to fix problems they don't have. Spend a lot of effort preparing themselves for something, for a bridge they're never going to cross. So that's why I have a method to the way I do things to ensure that I'm not wasting my time. And then in my downtime between making videos, I'll update my 2018 so it adds that line so my keyboard and mouse will work, and then recreate the ISO image that has the Universal Restore so I'm not stuck in this loop again. I do have a future video coming out where I'm going to compare hard drive cloners to software cloners. How easy are they to use? Will they resize partitions automatically? Can you go from a large drive to a smaller drive? Can you do sector by sector copying? And how long does it take to do the same machine over and over and over again? The same clone, and the only thing that changes is the software. Is one faster than another, or are they all pretty much the same? And then which one's the easiest to use? Which one's the least expensive to buy? So that's all planned for the future. And I suppose that's going to wrap up the feed, unless anybody has any last questions here. What do you guys think? It has got the product key showing. No, it doesn't. You cannot see a Windows. So this is why I do these YouTube videos, is to educate people. You cannot see a Windows product key by looking at your system properties. You go ahead and try, and if you think that's a product key, you go ahead and try using it. I really have a disdain for people who open their mouths and give out false information. It's like, hey, everybody, look at me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Pay attention to me because I don't know what I'm talking about. Hey, everyone, wouldn't you be better off not saying anything than looking the part? So people think they're being helpful, but they're actually causing anxiety and panic among other people. A lot of people have a hard time trying to figure out where the key is in Windows 10. Even in Windows 7 or Windows XP, so there are software utilities that you can download and use, like System Information Wizard and other things, a bunch of other tools to expose what the key is. You cannot simply go to System Properties and see a key. You've never been able to do that in Windows, never. I imagine the system will need to be reactivated, but I don't have an internet connection plugged into it. I'll have to load the network card driver. I'll have to do all that first, and then I'll activate it. And then I may have to call Microsoft. So don't panic. Don't panic if you move your operating system and it won't activate over the internet. If you read what's on the screen, it should instruct you to dial a toll-free number, depending on what country you're in. And it will give you a series of numbers that you will enter, or give you the option to actually put an app on your smartphone, and you'll enter the numbers on your smartphone app or over the phone. And they're going to ask how many copies of this version of Windows do you have installed. If you answer anything other than 0 or 1, they will not activate your license because Windows is only good for one install. So if you say 1, then they should say, oh, hold on a minute, and then, okay, here's your respond code. You enter the respond code with your keyboard back into Windows, and it activates manually. So don't freak out if it doesn't activate online. When it activates online, it's painless. It's done. But if it fails that, it doesn't mean it can't activate. It means you have to pick up the phone and call. So not a big deal. System key tied to motherboard. Yes, when you have a copy of Windows, the license key is associated with the motherboard. And Microsoft will tell you that if you change your motherboard, you have to buy a new license key. But Microsoft also tells you that if your motherboard fails, you can move Windows that was associated to the failed motherboard onto the replacement motherboard. Generally speaking, when you call Microsoft for activation, they don't ask you why you're reinstalling. It's pretty rare. But if you are asked why and you do not want to have to repurchase a copy of Windows, you tell them your motherboard died, you had to replace it, I need an activation code now. And Microsoft will always activate it. The only time they won't activate it is if this code was previously activated numerous times recently, because that would alert them that the product key has been stolen. It might be out there in BitTorrent. All right, we should be back live again. Another blue screen. It only seems to happen when I'm running on both capture cards at the same time. So maybe the capture cards don't like each other, or it's this new capture card I've got that maybe is giving me a little bit of a conflict. Not sure what's going on there. These are problems I certainly don't have when I'm not live, but it doesn't seem to happen unless I'm using both capture cards. So I'll have to play around with this a little bit more. All right, so we'll be wrapping this up here real soon. Once again, if you have any other questions, Carrie, I have a bunch of old hard drives gathering dust. Would I be able to put those in a RAID? Or do drives in a RAID all have to be the same make and model? Drives in a RAID will need to be the same size or or what ends up happening is your RAID will be the smallest drive. It will assume all drives are the size of the smallest drive. So if you've got 3 1 terabyte drives and one 320 gig drive and a 4 drive array, all 4 drives become 320. But there's, some great information just by using Google that you can learn all about different software and hardware RAIDs and pros and cons of the different RAID types, 0, 1, 2, RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6, RAID 1 plus 0. There's a bunch of different RAID levels out there. Yeah, I see the audio went down again. Once again, not sure why that is happening. Very strange. Let's try that. Maybe that'll help. Okay, that looks good. Not sure why these devices are listed in this order. I'll play with it offline. In a previous video, you mentioned a particular multimedia card reader which you considered a quality product. Do you recall which one it was? They're all about the same these days. It really doesn't matter. Carry will a 1080 Ti bottleneck in i5? I really don't understand your question. Most gaming rigs are i5s, and most serious gamers run 1080s. So it just depends on the game you're playing and if it's CPU intensive, but it's got nothing to do with the graphics card. Would you rather build a system with Coffee Lake CPUs or Ryzen 5 CPUs? It depends on the customer's needs. If the customer is not a gamer and they have no need for a discrete graphics card, Ryzen CPUs do not come with discrete graphics, or they don't come with built-in graphics cards. When you buy an Intel CPU, you get a graphics card built into the CPU. When people go Ryzen is cheaper, well, of course it's cheaper. It doesn't come with a GPU in there. So, or what AMD calls an APU. For gamers, they're not going to use that built-in graphics anyway. But for everybody else, like people that do work in offices, even if they have multiple screens, the Intel graphics built onto the CPU are more than powerful enough for production tasks and surfing and email and watching YouTube videos and HTPCs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So except for video creation or gaming or tasks that actually require a high-end graphics card, it's not a fair comparison to compare any Intel chip to any Ryzen chip because, well, I'll say any consumer-based Intel chip to any consumer-based, well, all the Ryzens are consumer-based, because you're not getting a graphics chip. So when you add on the price of the graphics card, your total cost of the system goes up. And most people are more interested in cost. That's their main focus, to spend the least amount possible for the best system they can get for that amount of money. Do you use Ryzen CPUs for your video creation workflows? No, they're not strong enough for me. The new video editing machine is going to be a Core i7 X99 based chip. So potentially Threadripper, but I've already made the investment on Intel last November. Threadripper didn't even exist. Nobody even knew it was going to exist back then. And I just simply haven't had time to put it together yet. But it will be, that's what you'll see coming up. There's no plan for any AMD CPUs until somebody orders one from me. If you want to see anything specific, order it from me. That's the best thing I can tell you. The content you're seeing is free, and I have no control over what somebody orders, and I have no control over what somebody needs repaired, and that's what ends up being the content for my channel, something I have no control over. Does your portal gun work? It might. I might show that to you in the future, not today. I want to see you build your video rig. The video rig has already been paid for by other viewers, and those viewers who contributed will see the video rig being built first, and then a couple of weeks after that, after everybody who's contributed to making it possible have had an opportunity to see it, then it'll be made available to the public for free. Do you have a multimeter and do you use it? Yes, I have several. I don't use them very often, but boy, when you need one, they sure are good to have. Whether you're just checking continuity or you're checking voltage, I've demonstrated my voltmeters. All you have to do, by the way, guys, notice a lot of questions are people asking that I'm guessing are new to the channel. There's over 250 videos on my channel. And if you click on my name and then click on the button that says videos, you will see the full library. And in the thumbnails, you will see the multimeter. So it's not as though the content is hidden from you. You just have to go and look. There's some great past content you are missing out on if you have not clicked on my name and clicked on my video library. Tons and tons of great content that I strongly suggest you check out. Carrie, what's your opinion on putting a page file on a RAM drive? If you've got the RAM, why not? Do you ever make up your own UTP cables? No, it's so cheap to buy cables now, it doesn't make sense to make your own cable. That screen is so far away from me. Let's see. Any other questions here? We're going to wrap this up. This is going to be, looks like a short stream today. Are you going to activate the system today? Yeah, when the stream is done, I'm going to load whatever drivers are missing, and then get it activated, and then do the cable management, and then I'll call the customer to make arrangements to drop it back off. And then the old system, I will reformat that, put Windows 7 back on it, and then that'll be sold. So if anybody's interested in buying that old Phenon system from me, let me know. And I've also got a couple of old Square LCD monitors. If anybody's interested in those and you're in the Phoenix area, let me know. Drop me a private message here on YouTube. And if nobody wants to buy them, then they'll be donated somewhere, or I'll take them out to the desert and shoot them. Whatever I feel like. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. There's no shortage of computers in the world. Is that a floppy disk drive? No, I don't know where you're seeing a floppy drive. Are you going to do a budget PC build in 2017? What do you think you just watched? What was this? When's the next live stream? I don't know yet. It may be tomorrow. Usually when I do my live streams, they will, in general, they'll start around 1 or 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. If you subscribe to my channel and you hit the little bell icon, you can tell YouTube how to alert you when a new video gets posted, live or otherwise, so that you don't have to plan for it. You know, it'll just pop up on your email or as a text message, however you prefer to be alerted, the minute a new video is posted, like I say, for any reason, any type of content on my YouTube channel, so that you don't have to go wondering. Did you update the BIOS? I would suggest you go back and watch yesterday's live stream. So the next machine I've got to build is going to be, let's see, I'm going to step over here and take a look. The next machine is going to be a Core i7 7700 with an Evo 960 NVMe M.2 SSD, that's 500 gigs, and a GIGABYTE B250M D3H. This one's going to have 32 gigs of RAM. The reason for this is it's going to an accountant, and they deal with they not only deal with big spreadsheets where they require a lot of number crunching, but they also have a zillion tabs open, which is why they want that much memory. And they want everything to boot quickly and load quickly, which is why they've got the M.2 NVMe SSD. These should be pretty easy builds too. I'm trying to think, I think it's going to be a Corsair 200R, the same power supply here, the EVGA 430 white, and then motherboard, CPU, RAM, and M.2. Motherboard, CPU, RAM, M.2, that's 4 components. Power supply case. No DVD drive, they're not using them anymore in the accounting company. He's got an external USB one and the rare occasion that he will need it. This accounting company just bought another practice, so they're adding more employees and they need computers for the new employees. So the boss is going to give one of the employees his old computer, and one of these new ones is going to be his. And there'll be another identical one to this. And then there'll be a third one that'll be identical, except it'll only have 16 gigs of RAM and a 250 gig M.2 NVMe SSD. So I don't know if I'll be able to do all 3 of those on the same day or not. Obviously, I'll have to build them and then install the software second, I think, or I do them one at a time. I don't know. For the live stream, because software takes a long time to install, it might make more sense to just go ahead and build all 3 on live stream, see how long it takes. It's only 6 components, so it shouldn't take very long at all. Be very little cabling because I'm not running any power or data cables to storage drives because it's M.2. So the cabling is going to be real simple. Just going to power the motherboard. Hook up the umbilicals and the which includes the USB and audio. Power switch, power LED, hard drive LED, reset switch. Done. Very, very simple. And these are going to have Windows 7. The reason we're doing Windows 7 is all of the other computers in the office are Windows 7. They like Windows 7. And when you buy Windows 7, you get Windows 10 for free. So you can buy Windows 10 and get one operating system, or you can buy Windows 7 and get two, right? Because you have Windows 7 and then you get your free upgrade to Windows 10. A lot of people still don't know that you can install Windows 10 on a computer that has Windows 7, or if you have a Windows 7 product key. And the trick is, you do not, like let's say you're going to do a fresh install of Windows 10. You don't enter a product key during the installation process. You skip that step. There's a little button that I've shown it in past videos that says skip this, let Windows 10 install, and then when Windows 10 is done installing, then you enter your Windows 7 product key and it'll activate. So you get two operating systems for the price of one. And what that means is when he's ready to move to Windows 10 office-wide, it shouldn't cost him anything but his time. And where you can buy Windows 7, he needs Windows 7 Professional. You can find that for $60 to $80 legally at places like Amazon or whatnot. Well, it's still available. As I mentioned yesterday, Microsoft no longer manufactures or sells Windows 7. So the only Windows 7 you can buy now are what remain in distributors' warehouses. Once that's gone, it will not be replenished. So that's the logic there. It saves money. It's all on the up and up. Everything's legal. Where do you buy Windows 7 now? Yeah, you could still buy Windows 7 on Amazon and on Newegg, I believe still has it. Both Home and Pro. Just make sure you read the reviews, because if it's coming from a marketplace seller, it could be fake. So you gotta, don't just find the first link and click on it. Make sure you read the reviews that other people have had good experiences, so that you can expect the same. So I think maybe tomorrow I'll get started, at least get started on building one of those three, and hopefully all three systems. It depends how long this machine takes me to get finished up and back to the customer. Does this work with Windows 8 too? Yes, Windows 7 and Windows 8 product keys will work to activate Windows 10 with a few exceptions. So be aware that if you have an enterprise product key, that will not work. If it's a regular retail key, it definitely will work for sure. And an OEM key should work. You can download the ISO file from Microsoft. I had to do that the other day. Yeah, I've got a video that steps you through the entire process of downloading the full installation image for Windows, any version of Windows or Microsoft Office that is currently being supported by Microsoft, and that's available for free for anybody. It's the activation that's not free. But yeah, you can download the software direct from Microsoft for free. And again, there's a video in my library that walks you through that entire process, click by click. Somebody says that they installed Windows 10, and then when they went to put in their Windows 7 or Windows 8 product key, it didn't work. You may have a product key that's not upgradable. There were a few types of Windows versions that were not eligible for the upgrade. So in that case, well, it looks like we had another blue screen. And I think that's my computer telling me to wrap it up. I'm gonna have to look into this, find out what's going on. Wasn't doing this before, not before the new capture card. So maybe something going on with the driver. Does Digital River still have Windows versions? I don't think so. Oh, the audio's low. Okay, let me bring the audio back up. Every time it crashes, drops my audio. Okay. Yeah, Digital River used to be the distributor for Microsoft software. I don't believe that's the case anymore. If you would just follow my easy to follow video, it's really not a big deal. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Every step and every click is detailed in the video. I think it's maybe 7 minutes long. It's not like a 2-hour marathon. And it just walks you through that whole process. So if anybody's got any final questions before we wrap up. Can we talk music again? I love to talk music, but I'm going to have to find out what's going on with the computer blue screening, and I'd like to have some time today to investigate that so I can hopefully resolve it before the next live stream. I can't fix the streaming. Trying to fix the streaming computer while it's streaming is like trying to change a flat tire on a car that's in motion. No, it's not going to happen. Do you think I could become like you one day? Man, you got some self-esteem issues. You can be a lot better than me. Come on. Thought you meant the PC you just built. There's nothing wrong with the PC I just built. No, that's going to be just requiring activation and drivers and wire management. I'll do that all off camera because I've already shown 2 live streams ago how to install the drivers. It's extraordinarily time consuming if I go and use Snappy Driver Installer, which I probably will to make sure I get the latest and greatest drivers. I mean, the default stuff, Windows 10 auto detects, will be good enough to get it to run. But I want to make sure when I deliver it to the customer that everything's updated to the latest and greatest. I want them to be very happy with the computer, and I don't want any support calls. Support calls kill what little profit I make. It's probably the Stream Deck. I recently got one on my computer. Keeps me. You know what? It could very well be the Stream Deck causing the problem. It's entirely possible. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If I were using the Stream Deck when the blue screening was occurring, that would make sense. But before I got the Stream Deck and I was trying to manually, using the mouse, activate and deactivate different feeds from different capture cards, it was still blue. It was doing this. It wasn't doing it as often, but it was doing it. So there may be more than one thing going on. I don't know. We'll see. I may end up having to just stick with one camera if that's what it's going to mean to keep it from blue screening, and then use the internal capture card with the Stream Deck, because with the internal capture card it never happened. So if it continues to happen with the internal capture card, then the only thing that's different is the Stream Deck. We'll see. I haven't heard other people complaining about it though, but I haven't really researched it yet. The motherboards that I recommend are the motherboards you see me use in videos. If you look at the video history, and even if you just look at the video descriptions, you're going to see the same manufacturers. You may not see the same parts, but you'll see the same manufacturers over and over and over again. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory which manufacturers I like to use. Carrie, if you ever use tweaking.com software where it repairs your PC, no. I don't want to use a piece of software that I don't have full control over and I don't know specifically what it's doing. I much prefer to use my brain. This is the piece of software I need right here, and figure it out. When I started as a technician, you didn't have search engines. There was no internet. You had to know stuff. If you didn't know it, you didn't last very long as a tech. And a lot of techs starting out today, what makes them a tech is they're just better at Google than somebody else. And Google's a great resource, and I will certainly utilize it. But it's a secondary resource. My first resource is here. That's how I know if the information that Google results show me make any sense or not. And the software like tweaking.com and stuff like that is only automating things that I would much prefer to do by hand. There were a couple of interesting stories. There's A-Data's got a PCI Express solid state card that looks like the receiver of an AR-15. I don't know why they're doing that. I suppose if you have a case window, you can kind of see it. But I would rather A-Data focused on selling me a faster, more reliable solid state drive than packaging it and making it appear like the middle of an AR-15 inside of the computer that nobody's really going to see. That story and more are at pcworld.com. Hit the news button and see the latest news. That's often where I go to get my news that I find of interest, is either maximumpc.com or pcworld.com. And if you really want to get into the nerdy stuff, techcrunch.com. There's another one I'm forgetting. You get into some of the more business side of things, startups and finances and things like that. Did that person ever reach out to you about building him a computer from last night's stream? Nobody has reached out to me regarding any repairs, upgrades, or builds. Zero. So whether or not they don't know how to use the messaging feature on YouTube, I don't know. But that messaging feature, someone's just mentioning Slashdot as a source for news. I haven't used Slashdot in forever. I've forgotten all about it, but it's a good source for computer news, tech news. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Nobody has reached out for any upgrades, repairs. I've opened that up. If you live in the Phoenix area and you want something upgraded or repaired, send me a private message here on YouTube. And if you're within the United States and you're looking to have a computer built, go ahead and send me a message here on YouTube. You can also go to the Facebook fan page and send them a message and I'll get it. That's Kerry Holzman's YouTube fan page on Facebook. And there are volunteers there that are more than happy to help you with build advice if you're looking to build a computer yourself, which I highly encourage you to do, versus hiring me to do it. They can help you select the parts that meet your needs and budget. And then if you have a computer problem, the volunteers there can also assist you. They may not be able to solve it, but they'll do what they can remotely. They're not going to grab remote access. We don't do that. But they'll give you some advice that's all free and available to you through Facebook. If you're somebody that doesn't use Facebook, that's it. I mean, it's free. So that's how it works. So if you don't use Facebook, then that doesn't apply to you, and I can't help you as far as that goes. But I certainly, if you're in the Phoenix area and you're looking to have anything upgraded, computer upgraded or repaired, please reach out to me either through Facebook or through YouTube Messenger. And then, of course, if you're looking to have a build done, same thing. And that applies to anybody within the United States. I don't ship computers outside of the United States. They are more prone to damage. You have import taxes your country will make you pay before you can accept delivery of the computer. So not only are you paying for all these parts, not only are you paying for the shipping, and not only are you waiting upwards of 6 to 12 weeks to get that computer, when it does arrive in your country will assess an import tax on it on top of that. And then when you get it and find out it got damaged in shipping, you are not going to be happy. So to avoid any unhappy customers, I do not ship outside of the United States. Somebody wants to know then the proper name for the old style computers where the monitor sits on top. Those are called desktops, and these are called towers. But towers are often referred to as desktops, and nothing prevents you from taking a tower and laying it flat and putting a monitor on it. You can do that. Computers don't care if they sit upright or not. What they care about is being able to breathe. You need to make sure that the computer can bring air into to cool down. As I mentioned with the power supply intake fan being on the floor, on the bottom of the case, when you put the computer on the floor, you want to make sure it's on a flat surface. If it's on carpet, you want to raise the computer up so it can breathe. What if you ship it to a US address near the border and we pick it up there? Yeah, I don't care about that. That's fine. A customer of mine ordered a machine and he lives in Barbados, and I told him I don't ship to Barbados. But the folks in Barbados regularly have a shipper in the US that brings stuff to them in New Jersey. And they said, well, would you ship it to New Jersey? Absolutely. But I have no control over how the shipper handles your delicate computer. If you're willing to take that risk and not hold me liable for damages, well, you can hold me liable all day long, nothing I can do about it. But understand, you're not going to see any refund from me because the person, the in-between middleman did something to it. In fact, even if the shipper did something to it, you won't know until you get it. We won't know where the damage was caused, which once again, my hands are in the air. There's nothing I can do. When I ship to the US, once I've shipped to that address, my job is done. If somebody takes that and then takes it to Brazil or Australia or England or anywhere else, I don't care. Go ahead. Hard drive won't care if it's on its side. A hard drive doesn't care. There's no, this is what's interesting to me. So I make a statement. I say the computer doesn't care whether it's upside down or right side up or sideways, and then somebody says, well, what about this? Is that part of the computer? Then that's what I said. Well, what about the video card? Well, what about the motherboard? Well, what about the DVD drive? What about the RAM? What about the power supply? What do you think I meant? These follow-up questions are not necessary when the answer I gave you couldn't be any clearer. All right, guys, I guess that's going to wrap up the feed. I don't see any other pertinent questions coming through. I can't tell you what you should buy. I don't know you. I don't know what your needs or expectations are, so I can't advise you without a consultation. Consultations cost $125. They're done via the phone or Skype. We talk for about 60 to 90 minutes. I have to get to know you. I have to get to know what your expectations are, both now and what you foresee in the future, along with your budget. And it's a ton of questions. It's an absolute ton of questions. Like I said, it's usually a 60 to 90 minute conversation. Without that, I don't know you, so I have no idea what's right for you. And for that matter, nobody can on the internet. There's plenty of people that'll give you their advice, but unless they really understand what your needs are, that information is completely worthless to you. Carrie, have you heard anything from Brytech lately? No, but Brian and I don't talk every day, so that's par for the course. Nothing I'm worried about. Just want to scroll up through chat and see if I've missed anybody's pertinent questions here that will be helpful to other viewers. I think what I'm going to do now, moving forward, is when I get these questions where people aren't listening, what I've got a habit of doing is I often read the question out loud for the very first time, and then as I read it, I start getting upset. So what I think I need to do is start reading the questions ahead of time and then determine which ones, and just ignore the other ones. I'm trying to educate, and so as a teacher, I'm trying to let people know why their question isn't pertinent. And sometimes people find that to be rude, but I find the fact that they asked rude. When people start asking me personal questions or political questions, religious questions, that's really, really rude. And so my response is rude in return. Maybe I'm just better off ignoring those in the future to prevent any animosity. So if you see your questions not being answered, it's either because I didn't see it or because it's not an appropriate question, and you might consider thinking of a different question or rephrasing it in such a way that it does not come off as rude or selfish. You know, when somebody wants me to, I don't know, when the same person asks 10 questions and nobody else has a chance to answer a question, and they might be good questions. This isn't your show, it's for everybody. We want everybody to have a chance. And then if there's a lull in the questions and people start just making stuff up to ask, it's just wasting everybody's time. I'd rather just end the stream. So I just want you to know what's going on this side of the camera. And I certainly don't want to come off as being rude, but I probably just need to stop responding to the rude questions, and that way the way I come off will be better for people, I think. You know, I like it when people have technical questions. What I don't like is when I've already answered the question 3 or 4 times before, and it may be because they weren't paying attention, they might have walked away, or maybe they're just joining the stream, and so I just need to skip over those. And that may be another reason why your question doesn't get answered, is it's already been answered. And starting to understand now why when people call into talk shows, why a lot of times they won't take your question. It's all starting to make sense to me now. Is that the stock Intel cooler? So I think you should go back and watch yesterday's video. I think you focus on the negatives too much. Yeah, you know what? Again, I just, what I'm trying to do is keep everything very honest and full disclosure. And I want to read out these questions because people that are viewing this after it's aired live don't have the ability to see them. And I want you to understand what's happening on this side and how frustrating it can be, offering to help people and then having people squander that as though it has no value. It's quite offensive to me. People have suggested, you know, having an FAQ and stuff like that, but trust me, when somebody can't be bothered to watch yesterday's video and they come in today and start asking questions that were all released and talked about in yesterday's video, all they need to do is go back and watch yesterday's video. They won't have any more questions. When we do the live streams like this, when this is a follow-up to yesterday's, I don't know if you expect me to just like redo the whole video from yesterday for you, because you can't. That's why I say that we're back onto the negatives again, right? But that's what goes on over here on this side of the camera when I do the live shows, and again, because I'm doing everything on my own, there's nobody to filter these questions out, and I'm often reading them out loud for the very first time. And now, because I've read it out loud, I've got to address it. I can't. I suppose I could just. I don't know. I think it's ruder to just go, I'm not answering that. Not sure which is worse. Is there a hard drive external bay USB 3.0 you can recommend? Any of them, they're all pretty much the same. Do you think you'll get tired of these comments and try a different video style? Probably. What I may end up doing is, if the opportunity comes up, is to have somebody who can control the stream deck and control the YouTube comments and moderate them and answer those questions that are happening repetitively and can send people links. So that would take a huge burden off of me so I can focus on the content. And then of course they can then filter the questions over to me for the ones that are technical questions that would benefit a lot of other people that haven't been repeated time and again. You should hire some people to answer questions for free. Who's going to pay those people? I mean, did you pay anything? Do I take the money that you paid to pay the people? Where's that money come from? These videos are free. You do understand that when you buy something, you have a level of expectation of what to expect. But when you get something for free, you take it or you leave it. That's all there is. Take it or leave it. It's free. Build a program to answer comments. Who's going to pay for that? Tell you what, you build the program and then send it to me, and if it works, I'll use it. What are your thoughts on the Windows 10 update this fall? I think it's great. So for any information about the computer you see on the screen in front of you, that's all been covered earlier in this video and on yesterday's video. And it seems like most of the questions coming in now are people just joining. And I'm going to strongly recommend you watch yesterday's video. There'll be a link to yesterday's live stream once this video goes public and it's been processed by YouTube so that you can watch them in order. Trying to take shortcuts or skip ahead is just going to leave you confused. Or it's going to leave you without the info. It's going to leave you with questions. If you watch the video, you won't have any questions with regards to what I'm seeing now. And since it seems like we're kind of going around in circles here with the chat, it looks like all the technical questions are done. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I thank everybody for joining me today, and I'm not sure about tomorrow yet. I'm hoping to go live tomorrow to start these other builds. It just depends on if I can get this done tonight. So let me wrap this up so I can get back to this and get this back to the customer too, which may be why I won't be able to do the live stream. If I take this back to the customer tomorrow afternoon, by the time I get back, it's going to be too dark to film. But as soon as I have an opportunity to go live, that's when I'll start the next 3 builds. And I look forward to seeing you all then. And thanks for watching. I'm sorry for the interruptions today with the blue screens. That's something else I've got to figure out. And if I have time today, once I get this done, then I'm going to work on that and see if I can't resolve that, because it's annoying for both of us. But for everybody else, thank you again for watching, and I will see you all hopefully tomorrow, but otherwise very soon. Bye for now.